oh, it's okay to eat Sydney rock oysters, and it's okay to eat like Moreton Bay bugs, but it's not okay to eat like bat. It's like, where do you draw that line? You came from your mum's vagina, but we call you Julie. The world's in crisis mode, right?
Yeah, it's
like I'm just trying to get by.
So what's it like in Melbourne? What's Melbourne like? Like, is it lockdown? Because we're full lockdown here, hey, in the UAE.
It is, but it's like everyone's actually been pretty much playing by the rules, which is why like we're in a pretty fortunate sort of position, I guess.
Your job is to create e-learning for adults. You must be thriving.
Yeah, and I work for like a management consulting company, but like quite a small one. People that I work for are just starting to sort of see how things work.
Well, this is going to revolutionize the industry you're in completely. Like,
this is it. And like I read something, who instigated your digital transformation? And it was like the CEO, the CFO, like this person, and then it was like COVID-19.
There must be at least double the cases that have been advertised on that like, the counter everyone looks at, or WHO numbers or whatever. There must be double the cases, yeah, because not like half people with it are not getting tested for sure. Especially if it's like mild cold or no symptoms. We live really bad lives. We deserve to die, for sure. I keep thinking to like every joint I've ever smoked, to like every cigarette. No, it's gonna kill me.
But like I've had pneumonia 3 times. Whatever, I'm still going to live my life. Like I'll still go out for, all night. Not right now, obviously.
I hope not.
I'm feeling pretty clear-headed right now.
Yeah,
it's
good, right?
a weird sort of experience.
It is. I've gained so much weight though. I've gained like 5 kilos since this Dubai quarantine.
I'm drinking
nice
finest.
Yeah. Wait, cheers, by the way. Good to see you.
Teams and Zoom and things before, but I haven't really like delved into the depths of them. Yeah. It's like, oh, I'll just like call someone and be like, oh, do you know the answer to this question? Okay, thank you, bye. But now it's like day-to-day work. I'll need to share like what I've been working on, team, and while it's happening is a more productive way of doing things. And then I can share my screen with him so he can actually instruct me through the process as well. Team, which is awesome. So I feel very lucky actually that I decided to do a career change when I did. So that was like 2017.
Good though, it's really good that you got to that point, right? I was in Cambodia 3 years ago. We ran a punk bar, disco drink and party. Like I want to have kids, man.
Yeah, I'm not at that level.
I'm super
not quite as advanced as you, but you are like a year older than me. So
boom.
This is what's happening in Australia, I think now, is that it's like, oh, what we're doing is working. So people are going to become a little bit complacent. Like I saw a live streaming thing from Michigan in some like random Facebook group that I'm in, and I think it's a group called a group where we all pretend to be boomers. And I did a colouring competition.
Coloring.
And
yeah, and then you coloured it in. That's cool.
And then
coloring. It's definitely.
I coloured it in like with
coloring.
my computer. So
I would so you didn't even colour in hands. Coloring. I'm starting to think about what I can do. Like, what can I do to kill time? What can I make? What can I, But I don't have like
After Effects. Learn After Effects. Motion graphics.
I was thinking about it actually. I made these.
Like you do a lot of drawings and things, and like you can easily turn that hand-drawn stuff into a motion graphic.
So that would be really cool. Because I have all those shitty songs that I made on my computer when we were young. Coloring.
I remember my cousin and I when we were fuck we go off on some tangents. Anyway.
Yeah, like 90% cut out. It's
Never like finish a sentence. This guy has a very soothing voice.
cool.
And the new future of work. This goes for an hour and 45 minutes. They discuss the benefits of working from home, the necessity of innovating in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, delivery networks as critical infrastructure, economic recovery, and other topics. It's very relevant.
No, I'm down.
It's got a really soothing voice.
I like that. It's like
if you're feeling a bit anxious.
Yeah, you need to, especially during quarantine. Like, I'm watching lots of David Attenborough documentaries because it makes me feel good.
Remaining mentally healthy during confinement requires mindfulness.
Now we have to sit here and just like be with ourselves, which I actually personally am having a good time with because it's something that I've wanted to do for a long time.
This had happened to both of us like 10 years ago, we'd be fucked. We'd be completely fucked.
Oh, like we'd be absolutely destroyed on like so many chemicals that it
we
would be.
We wouldn't be able to handle being isolated either. I don't know, the older you get, the more independence you need to find yourself inside, and like, you've come a long way, I reckon. Like you've changed as a person into like a happier person.
Oh yeah.
And a secure person as well. Like, you know what I mean?
I think that's the thing. It's that I feel like very self-secure. Like I've kind of...
Yeah, dude, that is an achievement that lots of people just don't make it to. And everyone is struggling for that. Whether they admit it or not. Like, and
but like at the same time, it hasn't, it's not like it's been that way all the time. Like I also have been to the doctor multiple times because I couldn't deal with the stress and the pressure that work was putting on me. Or like I felt like they were putting on me.
But that's
and you've got to manage the situation because what I was doing was not sustainable. But I did go and seek help. But for a lot of people, that might be, quite difficult. For me, it was easy because I was just like, oh, I don't feel like myself. This is weird. Like, I don't want to not feel like myself. So I went to the doctor and I was like, ah. And she was like, have you thought about taking medication? And I was like, definitely thought about it. I always think about taking medication. My job was a big part of the problem, but it was my response to, the way that I was able to or not able to deal with the things that were put in front of me was the problem.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, when you have stressors and you have to decide how you're going to deal with those stressors, and sometimes you have to be like my last job, I hated my boss. I hated him. He was really just like not a nice person to me, and I felt really panicked all the time, around him, and nothing was good enough, and I quit.
Yeah.
And now my boss is awesome, and I love my job now. This team is so good, and I'm like, I can't believe I work for someone like that.
It's terrifying just kind of putting yourself in that situation, but sometimes that's what you need. But it is scary. I don't know, like who knows how shit works anymore. It's like nothing would surprise me anymore.
It is scary. It's not just the mental surprises, but it's also like how much crazy shit has happened in Australia in the last 6-8 months.
This is our World War III, right? This is our like global thing of our life that's happened. It's fucking crazy, man.
It's here it's been like one thing after another. So over Christmas, New Year's, there was fires. Australia is on fire, and that was literally like 3 months ago.
I don't know. Now it's just it feels like years ago, right? It's like.
And after drought comes flooding rains. Like in Canberra, there was a massive hailstorm. I know heaps of people whose cars were written off because the hailstones were literally like this big, bigger than golf balls. And
man, that's crazy. That could have killed people. Maybe it did.
And they my parents showed me, they're like, oh, that's where all the cars that were written off after the hailstorm have gone. And I was like, that's like a fucking massive junkyard. Like, it's huge.
That's so
yeah.
For some background context, me and Jackie used to be in a really cool band called Rattle. They were like fucking the coolest places in Melbourne. We had some epic shows. Remember when we played, what was it called?
They don't exist anymore.
None of the places.
Pony?
Yeah, Pony. And we headlined a Pony. That was awesome.
Pony doesn't exist anymore.
What?
The railway doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, that wasn't gonna last.
Or like Joint Bar or whatever it was called. But it was of its time, you know. It was a time and a place, and I'll never forget it.
Yeah, it was so good. It was crazy when you think about it. Hey, like literally crazy for you.
It was typically us for that period of our lives.
I found some photos of like me grinding the mic in like 2 minutes up. Yeah, no, video would be so cool. Hey, so cool. That lesbian called me ugly sexy. I remember her name.
Ugly sexy. Like my mum just messaged me. Like, I don't know. She does that kind of every day anyway. I hope you've survived another day of coronavirus, of isolation. As, you know, horrific and whatever as this is, and like, it's still something that the world needed to shock them into gear. Like,
I agree with that.
America's going down.
But
like a ton of fucking bricks.
Yeah, and he's on WHO, Trump.
And these people that just like perpetuate the problem in Michigan was people complaining about being in isolation. So they were having to go into, or like they were in stage 3, I think. So it was like, you have to self-isolate, or like you can't, you know, only 2 people, whatever the rules are surrounding this whole thing. It was like stage 3 restrictions. And it's like, oh, stage 3 restrictions have now been extended to the 1st of May, I think it was. And all of these people got so irate about the situation that they decided to take to the streets. And there was like
fucking idiot.
2,000 to 3,000 people, like
2,000 to 3,000
not wearing,
taken to the streets in Michigan to complain.
In Michigan, just honking their horns, like, you know, like lines of cars, and walking around, and people, like adults were giving like candy to children, and they're like waving fucking American flags and then like Confederate flags, and it's just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And then people driving past with like things saying like Trump unity, like, you know, like just give people the information that they need. Don't let all of your personal feelings out, you fucking twat.
But he is like, he's just, you know, it was perfect. My response was,
yeah. It's going to be like a miracle. It's just going to go away. It's just going to go away.
Virus. Like, it's crazy. He's a maniac.
The Chinese virus, the best one that I've heard, listen to this. This guy says, stop calling it the Chinese virus. That would be a nice start. And then this other woman's chimed in, and she was like, it is a Chinese virus. It came from China. And then this other woman's chimed in, and she's like, you came from your mum's vagina, but we call you Julie.
That's so funny. But I don't know, what do you think? Okay, this is a legitimate question. What do you think about it being from China, and should China be held somewhat accountable for like having like ridiculous, you know, animal rights laws and open markets? The WHO is getting blamed now by Trump, by a lot of people, for the virus. And it's like, well, you know, they do like, recommend people do stuff properly, and they don't have power over states because they're just an organization that is funded by governments, right? They can't tell China you have to do this. They can't tell America you have to do this, right? So like, what do you think about China? Like, it's controversial. It's controversial.
Yeah, it is very controversial, and I don't know what I think, because, you know, I respect like everyone, but I also respect animals, except for the bats that are flying around out the back of my house now. I'm like,
the virus came from bats.
I wish one of them could have been eaten.
I don't know, man. I think that the the government should be held accountable for the last 3 coronaviruses that come from China, and the government should be held somewhat accountable. The people shouldn't be held accountable. It's not like it's not Chinese people's fault.
No, because it's embedded in the culture, and it's like, this is the thing. It's like, it's easy enough for me to sit here and like preach about all this. It's like, oh, you know, animal rights. Like, I am pescatarian, like, which is a far shot from vegan.
Yeah, you're
but like
Melbourne vegan.
Like, you're not gonna follow everything to a fucking T. Like, the things that we want to do and the things that we do are very, very, like, vastly different.
That is very true. And I like the taste of bat. I'm not going to stop eating bat just because it might.
I've never eaten bat. Try everything once.
Right? I've never eaten bat either. I don't think.
But like that one time could be like that person didn't know that they were about to start a fucking pandemic.
Well, I mean, I think I don't know. I don't really know. I do think though, rather than blaming the UN, countries should be responsible for their own reaction to it. And
exactly.
Global law should be enforced a bit more when it comes to animal cruelty and open markets, because this is the beginning. There could be a disease where 30% of the world dies. 30% of the people that get it die, and you know that'd be brutal.
Oh, it's okay to eat Sydney rock oysters,
yeah,
and it's okay to eat like Moreton Bay bugs, but it's not okay to eat like bat. It's like, where do you draw that line?
Or the bunch of
it's like.
Yeah, no, you're completely right.
It's like, I want to eat Angus beef, and that's fine. So I'm going to do that.
I want to eat Angus beef.
It's like,
you're not allowed to eat any shark fin. It's like,
maybe like people should be considering this on like a whole other level as well. I'm not going to sit here and preach about that because I don't.
It's something for people to think about though, and I think
it's food for thought, so to speak.
Yeah, food for thought. You know what I'm gonna I think that in Western countries like Australia, people should get more bidets, like bum guns, right? Because then next time this happens...
This is what we've been talking about too. We're like, hello, everyone's been going to Bunnings and like buying, like improvising, like, why the fuck do you even need toilet paper? It's like,
no problem
have you ever heard of this fucking butt gun?
It's amazing.
Just raise water into your ass.
So good though. It's like, okay.
I know, it's like half the reason I go traveling around Asia.
It's hygienic, man. It's hygienic.
And now I can't.
It saves trees. It saves old growth forests in Tasmania. Like, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was that you know, not that I get a message because I'm the interviewer, but my message would be to Australia: use less toilet paper and more bum guns.
Absolutely, I agree with that.
No, but I want to ask you: do you have a message for the world?
You're really putting me on the spot. But there was something that I saw the other day, and these Sydney rock oysters, Moreton Bay bugs. No, sorry.
Sydney fish market.
This is deep. I'm going to get deep, all right?
Go.
Like, adversity creates clarity.
Yeah, that's nice. I like that too. It's like through angst breeds creativity, you know? Like the sadder you
exactly.
are, more artistic expression you can bust out.
This like whole thing is going to make people look at things differently, and hopefully they're going to respond to that, see things a little bit more clearly, actually see what's important in life.
Yeah. No, I think that was awesome. That was perfect. That was awesome. Much love, and send my best, Linda. And
will do. All right, I'll speak to you soon.
Easy dying. I'll edit this, before I post it up. It'll be like a week until I edit it. So.
All right. Yeah, it'll probably be longer.
Yeah, probably longer.
All right.
See you, dude.